Earlier this week, MPs delivered Rishi Sunak's first parliamentary defeat in a move to speed up compensation for victims of one of the worst NHS scandals of modern times. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, people were given contaminated blood products and more than 3,000 died after contracting HIV or hepatitis C. Hull North MP Dame Diana Johnson has been a leading campaigner.
Because I have a constituent who came to me in 2010, told me his story. He'd been infected by dirty blood. He'd then developed hepatitis C. It affected the rest of his life. And then I found out about the hundreds and thousands of other people actually who'd been infected and the families that had been affected by this. So when you meet the campaigners and the families, you understand why many MPs want to campaign on this and want to get justice. The first thing that I would expect is that Sir Brian Langstaff's already made his recommendations on compensation, and I hope the government are going to move on those as quickly as they can.
Well, Rachel Maskell, you voted in favour of this amendment, committing ministers to create this body which will be in charge of compensation. Philip Davies, you voted against. I'd like to hear both of your arguments.
Well, I think what's really important when we're seeing the injustice in the post office scandal, that they're able to concurrently, as that process is being closed, start putting the compensation into the hands of those people who are subject to the inequity there, to do the same around this. People have waited far too long already to be compensated, and of course we've got to remember that every 4 days somebody else dies as a result of what happened with contaminated blood. So there is no time to waste, and that's why it's important to get this process moving.
Philip Davies, time really is of the essence with this issue.
I agree. I didn't vote against. I abstained in the vote. And actually, as it turned out, by the time the vote came along, there was very little difference between Diana's amendment, for which I give her full credit. She's campaigned really effectively on this issue. And what the government was saying, they were pretty much both, by the time the vote came, saying the same thing. Hence, I abstained because I didn't want to vote against what Diana was trying to do.
Did you abstain because of that, or did you abstain because of the party whip telling MPs not to vote in favour of the amendment?
If anyone can look, has a cursory look at my voting record, they'll know that I don't vote according to what the whips tell me. I vote for what I think is right. But there was no difference really, effectively, between the two positions by the time the vote came, because of the concessions that the government had made. So therefore, it seemed to me, I didn't want to vote against Diana. She'd campaigned very effectively, and she's right to. It's a really terrible thing that's happened to so many people. But I didn't want to vote against a government who'd conceded so far that they were in effect promising to do what everybody had asked them to do anyway.
Well, 22 Tory MPs did vote against the government, including Dame Andrea Jenkyns, MP for Morley and Outwood, who just a few weeks ago submitted a letter of no confidence in Rishi Sunak.
Well, it's an important vote, isn't it? And people voted with their conscience, which I did last night. And there was also another vote last night, which I voted against as well. So to me, we want politicians to be conviction politicians, to stand up for what they believe in. And I certainly did that with voting last night.
How much of this is about your level of confidence in the current government?
This is a separate issue. This is not about the confidence in the government. I mean, I've put my vote of no confidence letter in against Rishi Sunak. I did that a couple of weeks ago. But this, as I said, it's purely should be about the victims and their families.